allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, be with us today as we deliberate the business of the county. Help us, Lord, to keep in mind your teachings, your wishes, and keep in mind the best interests of all of our community, all of our county residents. Lord, ask all these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Lynn. All right. All right, have we had a chance to look at the minutes from the 6th? I don't know why I printed out the wrong minutes, but anyway. Any questions, comments, corrections?
I didn't see anything. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Hurry.
Yeah.
Congregation of wait and see.
That was a little bit late.
I got the right ones.
This is the August 6th.
Oh.
Yeah. I would say I'll print your copy, but it's not working.
Well, let me see them.
Here, we can share. Here you go. This one. But we already did that. Oh, July 23rd, that was already done, so I crossed it out. But here's your, you can use that again.
Okay, thank you. Boy, I printed
You were
the
stuck
wrong-
on the 6th for minutes and didn't know.
The wrong email from Angie. All right. Tony, what do you have for us today?
Okay, first, I have an Eastern Alliance workers' comp claim in the amount of $5,440.68. Eastern Alliance workers' comp.
Motion approved. Second.
All right, motion carries.
Okay. Then we have the weekly health insurance claims from Allied. And I verified the claimants. The amount is $69,336.46. Of that, medical was $10,920.47. Prescription was $57,459.15. And there was a adjustment minus $956.84, which left a total of $69,336.46. 69,336.46.
26.
46.
46, okay. You said somebody 23.
All right, any questions on that? If not, I accept a motion to approve that claim.
So moved.
As
Second.
All right.
Okay. Then we have payroll claims. Payroll claims are in the amount of $368,513.53, $368,513.53 for the payroll claims.
All right, any questions on that? Not, I accept a motion to approve those claims as
So moved.
presented.
Second.
Okay, motion carries.
And then we have, you should receive via email the payroll time card approval for department heads. That would be the last thing I have.
All right, have we had a chance to look at those?
I have. Make motion approved.
Second.
Okay, motion
Who's that?
carries.
Cash usually give them something.
Those are always good.
Mm-hmm.
Office.
That's what show gets on. I have to get it.
I know. It'll be fall.
Dad loves
cashews.
That's all I have.
All right. Nate, what all do you have for us today?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Couple different items, updates. For the small structures for this year, KVL has started excavation for that concrete box on 800 South. They're just east of 4 East. Installation of the new box is supposed to be on Wednesday, so the crane will get set up tomorrow. Trucks will start running in to drop that box in, but they're getting excavation started yesterday. I was out there, and I'm planning on going there after this meeting to go see where we're at, make sure that's set where it needs to be. Ish excavation was delayed on that pipe crossing there on Salem Road. Hopefully that'll get done later this week. Had a project in Fort Wayne, he said he could not get off of in time to start Friday, so I don't have a solid start date on any of the others. I know a couple have started to be delivered to KBL's yard because I'm getting invoices for the pipes to show up. So KBL is going to be going from one structure to the next here for the next month or so. So, but we should be wrapping those up. Next item is just the Bridge 27 Pickerel Road. I know we had the selection list. I have the scoring. I now have all the scoring together, so I'm going to go through and finalize the tabulation. I'll send that off to NDOT. Once they confirm it, then we'll have our ranking of firms. And then I plan on starting discussion with the selected firm on negotiation of a contract. If one of you would like to be part of that negotiation and correspondence, then just let me know who you'd like to have as part of that. I'll obviously run lead on it as ERC, but can keep one of you kind of informed as that process goes forward. That way I'm not going through each of the pieces during the.
How much, when you sit down with them, how much negotiation is there? Would it be a benefit to have one of us sit in, or would it be for our benefit too?
I think it would be for your benefit to know what goes into the process. One, you get to watch what I do and what I'm doing for you as far as the negotiation, and then you'll know, at least one of you as a liaison knows what's going on in those contracts, and that we have gone through at least a rigorous process of review, what is in there. I think probably too often you just see, here's $130,000 contract, and it's not to exceed. I guess that's just what we have to accept. Well, there is a process that goes on prior to that, and I would encourage you to participate in it, but this is not necessarily the proper forum to go through the negotiations with that consultant.
So would one of you gentlemen want to participate? Otherwise, I mean, I wouldn't mind sitting in either. So unless somebody's got a special interest, I'll leave it up to you guys.
What I'll end up doing is, and I'll review the contract with you when the drafts show up, and then I will just CC one of you on the communications, and I will let the selected firm know that that's my intent, is that you're essentially just auditing or reviewing the process.
Okay.
But you let me know who you'd like to have do that, and then I'll make sure that
we'll discuss
on
that.
Yeah. So you just let me know. And then lastly, and the big part for my presentation today, is I am requesting approval to apply for NDOT Special HSIP, and that stands for Highway Safety Improvement Program Grant. That opens in September. It'll close in October. It is a special grant offering by the state. I brought it up at a couple different meetings, kind of as the steps have developed, so this shouldn't be too big of a surprise to you or the media. The grant will be to replace or install new traffic rated impact attenuators. Those are those impact ends at up to 50 bridges in the county. The estimated cost of the project, based on estimates prepared through Butler Fairbairn Seifert, myself, and Dean Longest and Neff, have all kind of reviewed that at different levels and stages. Total cost of the project is estimated $2,929,518.40.
So when you do these projects, it's not like it's going to result in road closures. Is it additional acquisition of right of way?
Great question. There is no acquisition of right of way in these projects. So what I did early on in my binders back there is I listed every bridge in the county, and many bridges were flagged for what was considered guardrail improvements. And so what I did is I said, okay, here's all these guardrail improvements that need to be done. Well, how do we want to fund those? Well, really they're safety projects. That's where this grant comes in. And then I went through and listed the right of way, the record right of way for each of those road sections. Any road section that didn't have at least 40-foot defensible right of way from the establishment of the road, I just set aside. So, and I didn't even bother trying to chase those because the state wants these projects to be shovel ready, or at least as shovel ready as can be for a federal fund. So they want these going to bid within 24 months. So anything that needs right-of-way acquisition, I just threw out because there's just no time within the project to do that. And it would probably disqualify us from any funding to start blending those right-of-way acquisitions in. So these all have at least 40-foot right-of-way that we're looking at. Otherwise, the list would probably have about another 20 or 30 bridges. Now, it doesn't say that every other bridge that's not on this list doesn't already meet that, because some of them have already had federal funds. Some of them were on old state roads that had impact attenuators. The Winchester Road Bridge that got hit exactly on one of those old impact ends. So they're out there. There is a group that I want to try to tackle in the future, but there are other safety funds we can try to do as a small incremental process. The trick is I need more time for right of way.
So you were able to meet the time frame for the bridges that you've got?
All of these meet that time frame. They meet the criteria by the state. I have requested from the state a determination, and the state has reviewed our scope fee and the type of work, and they've signed and sent back a determination saying, yes, your project meets the criteria. It's one of the checklist of items that I have to submit back to the state. So other than this is the last hurdle that I need to do before.
For a 90% match, and then
Our 10% match, 90%.
or, yeah. So council was good with it, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
so council did approve that just earlier today. I think, I really can't budget for the grant match, but there is the money in the Cume Bridge Fund. I think it's a perfect example of why you want to have a reserve in your Cume Bridge budget, because that allows you to go after grants that may come or go. This was a special call. I anticipated this would be maybe even 2 months earlier. They've delayed it a bit to fit I think their central office workload.
So for us to take action, it sounds like we probably just need a motion to approve that grant application or the actual contract.
For this, you're just approving me seeking the grant. It's the grant application. It's the internal process for us. And then I attach the confirmation saying that the funding entities are willing to put up the match money.
Something council approved.
Yep.
Okay.
I think, Stan, you're the only one that would end up signing that letter.
That would be on second page.
Well, what do you think? Otherwise, I'd accept a motion if you're so inclined.
Motion approved. Sounds good to me.
Second.
Okay, I'd vote in favor of that also.
There's two different copies. One to go to Nate, one to go to me.
All right.
Only you need to sign.
Well, thank you, and I know that you were really scrunched time-wise to kind of get everything around.
Typically, I like to, when I know a grant's coming up, I like to have maybe 6 months. We put this together in probably closer to 3, but thankfully, they've given me some extra time here at the end with the application. So we are absolutely ahead of the game now by being a little bit aggressive. And just for the record, I did reach out to, and I've met with both the Adams County Farm Bureau and the Adams County Soil Water Conservation Office to reach out to the farming community about the nature of how this project would work. And as well as I've reached out to the Economic Development Board, and I've received letters of support from the EBC and from the Soil Water Conservation already. And those will be included in the application. So, again, thank you very much, and we'll see what happens. It's every one you don't swing at, so we'll see what happens with this, all right? Thank you.
All right. Paul, do you have anything for us?
I got a little bit of something,
Yeah.
things for today, and we opened the bids for the single axle chassis last week. Me and Brad and our mechanic Kendrick went through the specs, make sure that everything met specs. Our advice would be to accept the Soaking International bid for $105,833.43. They're the lowest responsible bidder and met all specs as required.
Very good. So to take action on that, once again, we approve the contract. So, any thoughts, questions?
Motion approved.
Second.
All right, motion carries. Thank you,
Okay.
Paul.
The only,
Go to Stan.
Yeah, I'll go in favor of that also. How can you not vote for a dump truck? That's what I was saying.
the only other thing I got is a little bit of update. The distributor is back up and running. We are running as hard as we can run each day. got
So with
back.
this lower temperature, does that affect you?
Not yet, but it might. Well, hopefully we can get it done. The temperatures are staying in the mid 80s, so the ground temperature needs to be, the surface temperature needs to be about 65. So we're right there to where as long as it doesn't get any cooler at night, we'll be okay. We got it back last Wednesday. We run Thursday just with the oil that we had on hand, just to make sure that it was good. We ran all day yesterday and we're running all day today. So everything seems to be going good. We're making good progress. So that's a plus. Normally we're done by now.
I noticed that, on some of the roads, it looked like you're putting a little extra heavy stone down. Is that?
It varies from the stone quarry. It looks a little different. When we go to Lynn Grove, it looks different than what it does at Pleasant Mills stone. I think there may be a
I
little.
mean, I think it looks great. 200 you guys did yesterday. It looks excellent. It just looks like you got a little heavier stone on it, which I think,
And I bumped up the oil and the stone a little bit on that one because that was the third coat since we built that road. Last year we did it twice and then this year was the final to kind of seal that off.
it
So
really looks good.
I
just
think
wanted to-
it's coming out real nice. Everything seems to be working good and we're making good time. So we're actually on 116 or old 116 east of Geneva, heading towards the state line. Started that yesterday and are continuing today. So Brooks got some of our community crossing paving done. 500 east between 100 and 200 south is done. 350 east between 218 and 900 south is done, and they're working on 700 south from Lynn Grove to 4 West today. So I kind of figure they'll finish that up today or tomorrow, and then they're going to pull off and then come back in 5 West afterwards. They said since that's a big project, they're going to pull off and do a couple small ones and then come back. So everything was looking good.
I just had a question. I don't know, maybe I should have asked you before. Somebody sent me a thing that 101 was closed.
Yes, the state's doing some work up there.
So, because they said we're getting quite a bit of traffic on some of the back roads. So I don't know if that's affecting any truck routes.
I think
Or if we
Brad
need to-
addressed that a few weeks ago. They're going to go, we don't know which way you go, so they asked for a alternative route. So we pick one, hoping that that's the way they go. And
But they do have a posted official truck route.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And they're going to be doing work on 224 on both sides of 101. So that's going to affect things. And 101 was closed. And until that opens up, they're not going to do 224. It's just it's going to be a mess.
Because yeah, somebody sent me pictures. It's like 101 is closed, but there's no work being done at all. So they were wondering what's going on. So-
Yeah, they were working north of 224 up there. I don't know where they're at on that. I would assume that they're getting close to reopening because they really want to do that. The 2 projects there on 224, there are 2 culvert pipes that are crossing. One is east.
That's supposed to start Monday or 2 crossover pipes.
Okay.
So that they've closed it early just to, so are your guys kind of watching those truck routes and seeing if they're being followed and,
We will.
okay. So, very good.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Thank you.
Thank you. Just have a great day.
If I'm gonna stick around a while.
All right, Rick, what do you have for us?
Suppose you gotta brag about how good that generator looks, huh?
It's supposed to fit there. I knew this before, but I was waiting, speaking of the generator. We hired Shambaugh as the main contractor for that project. They hired Wygant to pour the concrete, set the generator. So I was waiting until they all got back, and obviously they did last Thursday. And I wanted to run this by you, because they're gonna be here. The wheelchair ramp, it's got a lot of weather corrosion to it. While he was here, I asked them to give me a quote to fix it. And I have that in hand.
And that's the concrete ramp on the east end?
Yes.
Okay.
If you go out and look at it, it's kind of where basically the post itself, that concrete's kind of erosion off of it. It's still sturdy, but think it needs to be addressed at some point in time. So I did get a quote for that. I asked them how long they thought before they would do that, because they have to come back and put the fence up. But I don't want the fence up till they pull the wire. But they would come back and they tell me they can make that concrete look just like the new one when they refurbish it.
So they're not gonna have to tear the ramp out or anything, they just.
They're just gonna redo it, fix those erosion spots, clean the concrete up. It's all listed here, what they will do. I'd like to just pass this out to you to see what you think.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
I wanted to get pictures of it so you could see what I was talking about.
So this is kind of a dumb question, but is this anything that while we're updating this, our ADA person needs to look at? To make sure while we're redoing it, that we're in compliance.
Good question.
They're redoing the ramp on the east end. Is there anything that you need to look at and just see if make sure we're in specs and all that?
I can touch base with Rick after this and just, we'll go through it together, and if there is something, we can brainstorm and bring it back to you guys.
I mean, I'd hate to redo the whole ramp and then find out,
I guess.
you know, our slope isn't.
I should have got with you before I presented this.
Yeah.
I believe it's okay, but
Yeah, but I mean, I want you to keep in mind too, that my role as Title VI ADA coordinator is more to keep us up to date on our plan and administer grievances as I see fit, and then coordinate with the departments who would be the subject matter expert in that area or whatever the grievance is filed about. So it's not like I'm gonna know, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna know whether we're in compliance on specs on something, on a project like this. I'd have to consult with Rick and Mark Wynn or Nate or whoever else.
Yeah, maybe if you would just get with Rick and see what your role is and if there's anything that needs to be addressed before they actually do the work, maybe.
Something that she'd want to do is just to take credit for doing those in the plan, right, for the county. So you don't want to do those ramps and do that sort of work, and then it's not documented in your comprehensive plan. She's going to take credit for doing the work.
So,
Take credit, that's all it
And
is.
she can finish the concrete.
so like, she would actually not do anything but just take credit
She
for
does
the
the
work?
right, take credit. Yeah, exactly. On behalf of the county. But never.
Sure.
But
You know, with friends like Nate, who needs enemies?
It shows you're implementing the plan.
yeah, it just proves you did it. If you don't document it, I don't know, ever been audited, if you don't document it, you didn't do it.
That's
Tim
right.
Markey did.
Yeah, so.
Oh, Sheriff?
Rick, just for those guys, if it's not in their estimate, what I would have them do is make sure they put it in writing that it is in compliance with all ADA guidelines and whatever regulations. That way, if it's not, they're responsible. And they have the engineer that can do all that. So as long as it states in their estimate that conforms to all ADA requirements, we'll be good.
Okay,
do that, but
very good.
Price looks reasonable, though.
I
I was in my head thinking could have been twice that.
place, we'll just refabricate it.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of absorption.
All right. So we don't need to take any action on this, I don't think, do we?
Oh, really?
Okay.
Well, what is the amount, Rick? I don't, you didn't give the amount.
The amount is for $4,317.
You could probably approve the quote subject to confirmation that the work will meet ADA requirements.
But I'll make that motion to approve the quote subject to the work meeting ADA requirements. Second.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. Last week, Corson was in to do our is the last building on the list to do our fire extinguisher test, a yearly thing. And while they were in here, I asked them about our server rooms, IT for our buildings. Now, there's a total of 6 per our three buildings here that IT has servers in. UPS is 2 out of the 3 does have fire compression. Okay. But there's a different type of fire extinguisher should be in those rooms. And that fire extinguisher is a Holotron is what they call it.
They uses Halon probably,
What's that?
uses Halon,
Yeah.
I suppose.
So what they do, what it is I measured the biggest room, and they're pretty much about the same. But it required 11-pound fire extinguisher for these rooms. So while he was here, I had the measurements and I gave it to him because it was on my list to do that I wanted to do. And I did get a quote for that also. The 2 server rooms that have the fire compression in it, this is basically to, if something would happen, to put that out before that would go off, that would cost us even more to redo that tank in there. So there's a total of 6 rooms that this would go in, and I'll present this quote to you. The
Because we've
quote,
got the server room in the basement, we've got the DMARC room upstairs,
you got you got the power room,
the power room.
then you got the 2 in the main courthouse, there's 1 upstairs there in the jury room, and
Okay,
then you got 1 on the main floor, and
that's
then
fine.
we have 1 at Superior Court.
So this doesn't include anything over in the jails?
I
No,
have my own.
he's got his,
It's all, they already have those type of, extinguisher systems.
Okay.
I mean, we don't know the cost of all this stuff in those rooms, just a precaution. Anyway, I'll present this to you here. The quote is for $5,940. They are $990 a piece.
Yikes.
Life expectancy of this, what he told me, is 12 years.
Currently, we have none
We have none like this.
of that style.
We're up to date on everything.
But we do have fire protection in those rooms. right?
Yeah.
So this is,
Just not.
this augments that automatic fire protection with a handheld device.
Yes, if something small would
Yeah.
go on in there, it could maybe be put out before that.
Sure.
And keep in mind, some of yours don't have, some of our rooms don't have fire protection.
Right.
So this would depend on somebody manually coming in the room, grabbing the thing
Yeah, it'd be
and
hanging on the
and
wall.
activating.
Yes. And it operates the same as a regular fire extinguisher.
I looked for him, but it's not working.
What company is this, Rick? KOORSDN?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So this would depend on somebody, an individual that actually knew there was a fire before the automatic extinguisher detected it.
You would be, say they were in a room where they detected there was a fire, a small fire going in there. Before that went off, this could maybe put it out. You have 2 rooms with fire compression, and the rest of them, we don't have fire compression.
I almost wonder if we could put it in the rooms that didn't have fire compression. I mean, because the rooms that did have fire compression,
Maybe you want to eliminate 2 of them. I don't know.
what do you think, Mike? Think we need to add these in the rooms that already have fire compression?
Yeah, those
those go off in those rooms. You're talking about.
But I mean, is it possible that somebody would actually realize there's a fire before the automatic ones did? Okay.
Is there any other firm that could give you a quote on these?
I did not. They were in, so I grabbed it from them, but I can seek out to get one. They were in the building doing our regular checks.
What do you guys think?
I did get online though, and kind of looked. They're right
They're
around.
in line. Okay.
I did look at that.
And they're the ones that Corson is the one that already provides our automatic ones.
Yes, all three of them. They also do our, they do. Shambaugh does our sprinkler test.
And what's in the, oh, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead, Steve.
What's in them rooms that's gonna, burn?
Well, it's more of electrical. This basically, we put this out as, your servers, your UPS machines. What else is in it? Servers, pretty much it. We just about had a fire in the room this summer. So, yeah, it's 100. Once we don't have air conditioning and it starts pumping air back through those and it rotates, within minutes it'll be.
We just put a new generator in, so we shouldn't have any. We just put new air conditioning in.
Where would the money come from for this, Rick?
I would take it out of 34006.
And you've got funds in there to do that? Okay, make motion to approve.
Second.
Sounds like a reluctant second.
I mean,
I appreciate the fact that that was gonna be yeah, I think Mark made a good point. If this was the only quote we had, this is certainly something we could gut check somebody on. But it sounds like you've already done that and found out that these prices are reasonable based upon your web search. So
And feel free to look. That's what I found this morning.
Well, and I think I feel good about the 12-year life expectancy, and I don't know if they throw in an inspection fee every year to where they come in for, or anything like that. But I mean, with the 12-year life expectancy, I think that makes it prudent that we add these to the rooms, especially where there's no automatic fire suppression, so.
And keep in mind, those rooms are only probably going to grow.
Did you want to
More
comment?
equipment.
Yeah. Unless we go back.
To get into those rooms, who has access to get into those rooms?
IT, and I guess myself.
So if you're not here or nobody's from IT and a small fire starts in there, it's not gonna matter anyhow, correct?
It's not,
the automatic system will kick in
the
where
automatic-
we've got an automatic fire suppression system.
But that's true. There's no one's got access to that.
We have fire detection, I mean, like smoke detectors. So, I mean,
They're in there.
so, yeah, even if it doesn't have the automatic halon suppression or smoke detectors, if something starts, and we ought to get a warning about that.
And then the halon doesn't damage the electronics, so.
It's just like what we have in there.
Okay. Very good.
Shambo was in Friday after a set, did a lot of measuring. I'm hoping they're back here next week. I'm hoping. Start pulling.
And the transfer switch, did it come with the generator or is it
It did not.
still coming?
The transfer switch is now sitting at Everpar's
Okay,
building.
so they're ready to deliver it.
They basically delivered it. Shambo will pick that up when they're ready. Kind of had to get it out of there and they took it.
Good.
So they'll bring it here whenever they're ready to set it.
Good.
Are you still kind of shooting for a holiday weekend?
That's what we want to do.
Does that fit in their time frame?
Well, I told them, look, we gotta be under the constraints of the building here. I mean, what's the time frame of what we can do it here?
Yeah.
I mean, I can go to the commissioners if it's something otherwise about closure of the building, but as of now, that's the goal, to do that on these holidays.
Like Labor Day, that's anything?
I would love it if they could get it done by then. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. All right, very good.
Thank you.
All right. Ed said he would not have a report for us this morning. So Sheriff? No report?
You heard everything there?
It's all good.
That was the thing they already did on the 23rd and just stayed on the agenda.
Oh, yes.
The commissary report.
You already did the commissary
Yeah.
report.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Shelley, what do you have for us today?
So, finally, I think we've kind of reached to a good point on choosing a vendor for our scanning project. As you know, I've had my chief deputy do kind of revisit with other vendors to see what they could do since we had switched gears and what we're going to scan down in the basement in the courthouse. So after looking at 3 of them, it was kind of a gut choice of which one would be the best one for Adams County, because not only is it going to serve for the clerk's office, it's serving for everybody that has scanning. Other departments have asked already where we're at, what's going on, and so last week met with Mark and Clayton to review a vendor's contract to see if it's agreeable and if we can move forward with it. So they had some edits that we sent over to the vendor. I just got a response back from the vendor. So Clayton had said we're still in probably today, we would probably be ready to move forward to accept their type of terms for their vendor contract. And once we have that, I'll get it to Mark and have you guys say that this is approved for us to move forward.
How does that work? Do we have to do an RFP to where they're all apples to apples to apples? or-
Well, I mean, you're getting quotes on this and this is providing a service. So it's not, we're not buying equipment and it's a service. So, you can select the service that you deem is most appropriate and the best for Adams County. Now, in reviewing the quotes, it appears that not only are they the best fit, it appears that money-wise, they're also the most cost-effective alternative when you factor in, how the charges are figured and the per scan cost and all the ads and that we know will be there and incremental additional costs. So I think this is absolutely the best vendor, best cost and the best vendor, best fit for Adams County.
So the way they index, once they scan in, will integrate with what we have?
Yeah. Because as Mike can attest many, many, many times, that we are going to be actually at a discounted rate purchasing their software to have for us in our office to use. And any other department, it'll be additionally for what they need too. Until we're up and ready, they are our records. So if once we're at a good point with Doc Record or Prism, the software for them, that they will be able to take on over our records, then that's what we'll do. But we're still going to have software from this vendor to use.
So that will be countywide with all the departments that will be able to access what they need to access.
So after we have chosen this vendor, and we'll start in our office, but then other offices can be able to, hey, this is what I have to scan, and they can get with this vendor. I'm not going to, as I said, babysit other departments.
Sure.
So that they can go and talk to them directly, and this is what I need, and this is what I need to have scanned. And then they can go through that. I'm not going to try to, watch for that, but they'll probably will have to do something for a software aspect.
Sure.
Okay, there'll be a
So
different
the
setup.
material that's already been scanned, they will have to index that through doc records.
Yeah, and Doc Record, if I remember correctly, Mike had said they still have to code that type. Even when we have our software from this other vendor, bring our records over, it has to be indexed into Doc Record correctly. So we'll be able to search.
So through the ARPA money, I think we allotted $500,000 for scanning. How does your intention fall with that?
So my, just for the proposal that we'll have for the clerk's office was almost like 200,000 for the records that we would need scanned. After looking for refreshing the ARPA application, commissioners will determine or will do a specification to which department would benefit from this fund. So basically, this is actually under your umbrella as an ARPA fund. And also, speaking of that, I was going to kind of segue into this as not only for, this is going to be taken care of for the clerk's office for our basement records, but also that we need to discuss, because as Tony had mentioned, that we need to have something contractual done with this ARPA fund. So if I'm only using, say, for the clerk's office, 200,000, there's 300,000 left. Other departments can, of course, utilize that as to what they need, but also it is incorporating in how it's going to be used with facility remodeling, moving our records from burn. Those are, of course, basic a necessity that has to be.
Sure, yeah.
I can attest from what Jamie has said, Chief Deputy, she went down with Mike Ruling to go get a record at Burn. And the bank said, you can't just pop it to look at those records. You have to make an appointment. You can't come on Fridays. So it's making it even more difficult to even get those records from Burn to get. So we really need by the end of this year to figure out where locally here that we're going to move those records. That's got to be kind of a forefront to try to at least get that
Obligate the
going.
money.
So,
Sure.
If you know, Shelley and I talked on the phone 3 times about this. By the end of the year, if you know, for example, S&C Construction or somebody that's already done work that might do the remodeling, if you can work out some sort of contract on whatever remodeling, that, the vendor that you're talking about now, movers, any kind of contract you get, then I would put that in Gateway as long as it's under the 500,000, and then that would satisfy the contractual obligation.
Okay.
so if I'm asking commissioners, if you would like to kind of kick it in gear on try to get us a spot over here or whatever we have decided on. I know we've had discussions with Rick as far as what room that we can actually remodel and do to move those records over here. That would be great. So.
Well, and I think I don't know if all of us were with her and Rick when we ran around through the building. So we've looked at options, we've looked at projections as far as offices moving and how to interact with the space we have. And so, yeah, we've got some projections, yeah.
If we had, if we knew ultimately where you were going to build out for physical record storage, and if that, those offices weren't available to be built out yet, but would come available sometime in 2025, say, I would assume we could have a contractor give us a proposal for the work that's being done, and we could sign a contract even though they couldn't begin the work until the offices were vacated. So we could commit the dollars that way. We just have to decide what you want that to look like ultimately when it's done. And then we have to get the contractor in here to go through, even if those offices are occupied, go through and figure out, give us a proposal, an estimate, and get a contract signed. Then we would meet the standard for your commitment.
And the law changed last July. If you remember the audit that we were all, the exit conference on future service, money that hasn't been, they haven't done the work yet.
Right.
That is now with that law change, okay, depending on what it is. But in this case, I think that would
We
suffice.
could sign a contract for that. Could we actually sign a contract if we had, who do you think would, who do we think would be involved in actually relocating those records? Is there a moving company or a?
That's what I was suggesting when we drafted this application. We definitely would want a moving company because as you, Steve, haven't been down there, but it is difficult because there's stairs that go like this. There's no elevator at these shelving is huge, tall and heavy.
Maybe we engage with a moving company and have them give us an estimate. And we sign a contract with the moving company, even though they're not going to do the work till 2025. That way we get that piece of it committed.
Can't do that.
You know, as far as contracts go,
Oh,
well,
yeah,
that's something we
all right.
talked about too. Like, let's say if we signed with a moving company, would a not to exceed contract satisfy the?
Even if it's a T&M contract, I would think we
I
could
think
sign a
so.
time materials contract, says we're going to charge you X amount of dollars and X amount of hours, and we estimate it would be this, then I would assume we could sign that contract and commit those
I
dollars.
think somewhere in that final interim rule that this final one, but they actually say that it has to show that there's a promise that the money's going to be spent for these things.
We can come up with something contractually to obligate the funds.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I think we'll be
Very
fine.
good.
that
We
way.
just need to identify a vendor and have them give us a proposal.
Well, and talking with Mark today, you actually, subject to any edits that the attorneys put on that, you actually can seek approval of this vendor and the quote or whatever today, if you want to, subject to attorney edits, right, Mark?
Yes.
So what kind of action would be appropriate for us today to approve her to enter into a contract? Or would it be just to pursue this vendor for a contract?
No, we have the contract.
Okay.
So we have the contract. We reviewed all the proposals. We're making edits to the contract terms for this vendor, which is, what's the name?
It is Strategic Solutions.
Strategic.
Actually, Mike Brown is the one that found this vendor, which they did a really good job on he was kind of working with them initially at many committee meetings ago with doing this. And actually, that's going to be the vendor that we thought was best.
Yeah, so I think you can have a motion to approve the proposal by Strategic Solutions for the scanning project and software
What's the amount?
of Strategic Solutions.
So the amount for the clerk's office will be for almost 200,000. But then there's the software that is also involved.
Yeah, I would just read the amounts,
Okay.
the estimated amount, because it's going to be based upon final, total images, but the estimated amount.
Yeah, the estimate.
Estimated amount. Well, actually, for the license for the software, the first year is free. Second year is half off. That's not, but true to the terms that we're trying to work out. After that would be for the software, $8,495. And that actually, the software I can, for my own department, the clerk's department, we have the clerk fund that I can actually pay out of for that to keep the license on. So that's not a problem with that. But then per department, additional departments, it'd be almost $3,000 a year for, other departments to utilize the software.
So what the contract covers is actually them having an employee of theirs or somebody of theirs, a contract, whatever, but they provide the person and the technology and the service to digitize your records and index them into their software.
Correct.
So our challenge then at some point in the future is to take those images and have them become compatible in the doc image software. We're not there yet, but we think that can happen in the future.
I think. Right, Mike?
It can happen because they've done all the other counties in Ohio.
Okay.
In the dock records.
Cool.
So it's just a matter of, they do it in a format. Assist in changing the format, the attributes of the
So that they would fit in the dock.
The other question,
Their software to start with.
Right.
the other question I would want to ask, if this is an ongoing cost per scan every month, every year, whatever it is, ARPA money has to be expended totally by the end of 2026. Now, unless they come out with another rule that says you can go beyond that and prove it in some way. So if that's the case and it has to be spent by 26 and it becomes an ongoing payment after that, council will have to start deciding where that money's going to come from when the ARPA's done.
I think that's a great question. I guess I have assumed, Shelley, that this was they're going to catch up and archive all the old stuff. And then your folks, as you generate new documents, they would be digitized. Are you digitizing new documents today?
It's all automatically.
Okay, so there wouldn't be once we're caught up with the old stuff, other than the contract to maintain the software, so you can go in and view the images, there wouldn't be an ongoing cost.
Correct.
Okay, that was kind of what I was thinking, but then Tony got me, I hadn't asked
The
that
other
question.
departments still have like old, if those
Sure,
old records, we
understood.
decided not
We're
to scan.
playing catch up.
We can eventually down the road, but I think I'm rethinking some things with regard to that. Once we have those from burn to here, we have a good spot. If we might want to purchase a copier, then we can have probably somebody scan those records
Sure.
as they are needed to.
Sure.
Would this number that we're talking about include shredding or destroying
Yes.
documents that can be?
Yeah, that's what was really nice about this vendor. They had quite a bit of, including in their price for, the storage, the request if we needed at that time, shredding, and of course pickup and, delivery. So there's a lot of it that they included.
So they would take the records from our site to their site, scan them and return them back here or shred them or whatever.
Correct.
Have you checked references to the point where you're pretty confident that once those images are scanned, the end user, your team can find them and do what you need to do with them?
And
There's
that
not
will be the thing, once they start doing them, we will have to sign off, just like Mark and I, we had that discussion, we have CSI, remember the software that I continue to pay every year, but now we no longer have access, is there's a lot of records that didn't get converted to the newer system. So all the CSI documents that we have difficulty even looking at, that's kind of the same thing. So once we get the record scanned, we have to make sure, okay, does this record look complete?
Okay.
We've got to have a different definite eyes to make sure.
So you have to look at every record, or you just look at a sampling of the records?
Probably do a sampling of them.
Yeah.
I've heard other
I think that's fine.
softwares or other vendors had a little bit of issues with that. So that's why this one I thought was a little more stronger in that stage. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate all the time that you've spent with this over the last several months, because I know you don't have much else going on this year. So, big election year. So.
Well, I think it's been a good partnership. Obviously, we've had Mike involved and
And even Rick, it was,
yeah, I'm glad these guys, and it's been a good team effort. And as you know, this is something that's really scary for me because I've seen it go wrong so many times in my career. But it sounds to me like you've done your homework, and I appreciate that. And and honestly, the software at $8,500 a year, even at full price, doesn't sound like highway robbery to me. I feel pretty good about that.
I feel the same.
So I would make a motion to approve this contract subject to our attorneys signing off on the final legal wording of the contract.
Okay, this, and just for the record, the actual, images to be scanned, estimated number of images and the cost for the capturing the images and the scan, that's $215,776.90. And that, the estimated number of images that involves is 1,934,370 images, so almost 2 million
Does that include the trifolds?
There are some trifolds down in the basement.
Because I think those are always higher priced than
Yes.
some of the other.
They've got it broke down here, but that's total images, so it's
Boy,
a,
that's a lot less than what some of the companies were.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of records.
Well, we had to separate, Stan, because remember we had burn included. Now that's taking that chunk out and just
Oh.
focusing on what we have down in the basement.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have any concerns about, I guess, the format of the scan? Is it I don't know, is it a PDF? Is it a database record? What sort of an image is it?
They do a lot with PDFs, for the most part, and that makes it easier for the user.
A lot more universally available.
People have PDF readers.
Okay, so I mean, you're not concerned that it's some oddball format that we're gonna have a problem viewing?
Text.
Because hopefully Doc Record is gonna come along and we'll have that functionality.
Because they're one of the few companies that actually work in counties in Ohio that use Doc Record. So when they're ready, they could bring it into Doc Record.
Yep.
I didn't find anybody else that had used Doc Record.
I think.
So you made a motion already?
I did.
He did. I'll second that motion.
Okay. How about in favor of that also? Yep.
Great.
Shelley, the other thing I would ask you guys to do then is continue to push this physical storage piece on down the road so we can get those monies committed before the end of the year so that ARPA money doesn't go away from us.
If I can just, part of this project here, you had mentioned, I believe, Steve, possibly getting some quotes of what these offices may need to look like. That's going to interchange, get a contractor in here, and we'll have to see how we want this to look, where those files are going to go.
Absolutely.
We had a great conversation it's been a while. I think we have a good plan of how we want to play, so to speak, musical chairs here.
Yeah.
But if we start bringing some contractors in to maybe give us a vision or a quote on this, we're gonna have to let some of these offices know what we're doing. What the future plan may be.
Okay.
And I think you kind of know what.
Well,
it
it's
is.
gonna be impossible for a contractor to give anywhere close of an estimate. So, the time and material aspect is probably the most realistic way to contract.
But obviously we have to have a number to contract to,
Right.
Yeah.
a total number.
Exactly, yeah.
Even if that's just a not to exceed number.
Yeah, even if it's a not to exceed number, I would think that Tony might have to chime in on that, whether or not to exceed number is close enough. If we're contracted for a not to exceed number and that number then becomes the committed number out of ARPA funds, do you think that passes the sniff test?
I would hope so, but I can double check, and Julie Marie, I can ask Julie Marie as well, and if they need to, they can ask Barnes and Thornburg to be sure.
Well, and even if it doesn't, it's Tony's the one that's gonna get in
Well,
trouble.
that's accurate.
Rick, do you see us having, I'm not sure where all the musical chairs, musical offices is going to happen at. Have we got, do we need to have some conversations with department heads before that happens?
Well, I think the key is communication through it all. I think we have to let them know our plans.
Okay.
I think it'd be a good idea.
Are you comfortable communicating that, or do you need us to get involved, or what do you think?
Well, we probably already talked, I suppose, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, who wants to handle finding of movers? You want our office to try to locate a mover or for those physical records to be moved over?
As far as from a contracted amount,
Yeah,
I guess I've never dealt with that
I
before.
know, you need.
Rick, have you dealt with movers?
I really haven't. What was the question?
Who to actually seek out movers to start getting like an estimate of what it would cost to move those records from Burn to here.
Is that something you'd be willing to do, Rick?
Well, I guess, I don't know. Since they're affiliated with it, whoever this contractor is scanning, do they know? People that have moved files for them.
I'd hate to ask a vendor because they're not even going to scan these records.
I don't know.
So,
I'll just have to give service.
It's a 2-man in a truck. I mean, you know, that kind of a thing. I don't
Kind
know.
of, seems to me like that would be, my only question would be, are these records sensitive to the point where we have to be,
Yes.
would we have to have somebody observing the truck, monitoring the truck, making sure all the records that started in Bern ended up in this building and some kind of inventory and
Exactly.
Exactly.
it feels to me like there may be something more than just 2 men in a truck involved here.
Exactly. So that's why I need to
I
know.
mean, somebody has to be there to police it, watch it, like you're saying.
I wonder if Sandy Brown would have an idea of who to contact because she does the record retention. She sits on that board that I've been in those meetings and she's with Amy Christensen. It's kind of the head of that. As a matter of fact, there's a Northeast District luncheon in September with Amy that if we don't figure something out by then, I could ask her that question at that luncheon because they're the ones that say how long you have to keep something permanent, all that stuff. They may.
We've already had that done. I mean, we've
Well, I
already
mean,
had so much.
she might know movers if there's a specialty mover that needs to be involved, and I don't know.
Movers will typically run an
Who does,
inventory
Shelley?
sheet. If we seal the boxes, or if the boxes are sealed when they pick them up, we can inspect them to make sure the boxes are still sealed when they arrive on this end and check off the inventory sheet. Box number 1 is here, box number 2 is here, box number 3 is here. I've done a little bit of work with moving, so that may be good enough.
What happened when they were moved from the jail to Bern?
I think we just.
Yeah, we probably don't want to ask that question.
Yeah.
Don't go where you don't look where you don't want to go.
Exactly. So that's
Dan's
gonna be.
guys, Sheriff Department with all that.
That'd be my guess, is we had,
They were in
probably
the back of a grain truck
Yeah.
and they were flying all over.
That sounds like a Steve Bailey.
Probably had the inmates move it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had inmates.
They probably-
Hey Shelley?
Yes.
Where's this company from, this Strategic Solutions?
They're out of Ohio.
I know what city?
Uh,
I got a few more things to ask.
So you've got our approval to go ahead and pursue this contract and to continue pursuing contracts.
Rick, if you would reach out to a couple of professional movers and explain what we're trying to do, they may have a plan that says here, oh yeah, we move secure records all the time and here's how we do it.
I'm just not familiar.
Yeah.
I'm not either,
yeah.
but I'm sure they're, if you go to a professional moving company, they'll know how to move secure records.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you need from us?
Nope, that is it. I'll get with you.
Hey Shelley, a couple things here. You said it costs about $3,000 for each other department to do this. Do they have to bring stuff to you to do that, bring their records to you or what?
No. The vendor will go with, we'll meet with the department head and see what they need and then
Hook it up that way.
hook it up that way.
But that's about $3,000 that costs like for
That's
this.
for the software, if they want to use their software
Okay,
to view those.
that's a
records.
one-time cost, okay.
All right. Thank you,
you very
Shelley.
much.
Good work, Shelley. Thanks. I know this has been a long slog for you.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Mike. You know, this is a big undertaking, so we appreciate that. Okay. Mark, did you have anything for us?
Yeah, we've got this auction agreement that commissioners have got put together here. And so this is for conducting a auction of the surplus property at Golden Meadows. And its proposed agreement is with Shalver Auctioneering and Real Estate LLC. And this would be to auction off the commercial equipment and basically surplus property, household items at Golden Meadows home that has not already been disposed of. Proposal is to do this by public auction. Right now, tentatively September 14th, which would be on site. And in terms of the auction, are set out here on the contract. What's that?
Time of day, what time, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock?
They don't have it specified, so it'll be advertised. But just right now, it's just September, tentatively scheduled September 14th, and that could change. but whenever we get the final date, that they will conduct the advertising. And so they will advertise the sale. There is a $4,000 fee, which will cover all the expenses of advertising and setup. And then commission would be 18% commission on the total amounts sold. And so then payment would be made to Adams County within 10 days. Any questions on this proposal? I think it's a good method of disposing of that property. Do you have any questions?
I don't really have any questions. If you have some concerns about having it on site.
Okay. What's the alternatives?
I know there's quite a bit of online auctions now. I don't know what those entail as far as fees and such. But that is definitely, my big concern is it being on site.
From a security standpoint, or I think, if they're gonna move it, can we get it moved to a central area? Is that still a concern?
Is your concern just any hazard that might be presented by the site itself, by people being on the site and whatnot?
Correct.
I would think we could manage that.
I think so too. The insurance is still.
If we just identify areas where the public can be and where the public can't be, if the public ventures beyond those areas and gets hurt, I would assume it's kind of on them if they're in a restricted area, for instance.
Yeah.
And I know what you're thinking about. If everything is, for instance, front of the home, nothing behind the home, then I would think that's where the auction is and that's where we would expect people to stay, and we could rope off the rest of it as being not.
You'd have to just
That's all in mind.
designate entrances, use only these entrances, cordon off, rope off every other area where you don't want anybody going, and say, this is where you have to be. And then if we have an issue there, I mean, obviously, if there's some glaring or apparent safety issue that we think exists there, then let's see what remedial measures we can take before the auction to make sure that it's safer. But we've got liability coverage, that's why we have it, and so I think as long as we manage, the area, I think we'll be fine.
In terms of the inside of the building, I think Brenda can speak to this a little bit more, but as a general statement, everything is in a centralized place now that we're talking about. So they can come in and do as they please with staging and stuff like that, so.
Yep.
Good.
So
And the auctioneer may decide they want to do it all outside and throw a tent up, and maybe nobody goes in the building. I don't know.
So we'll have to manage that leading up to it.
And we're still considering or willing to let all other county departments put any items in this that they also like to auction,
I
correct?
think so.
Yes.
Good idea.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that too.
Yeah.
I know there's the clerk had some file cabinets. There's some other stuff, I think, where in this building, file cabinets or something.
We'll send out a couple of communication pieces to all the departments about it and kind of coordinate that and make sure they can get their stuff out there if they want to.
Okay, I just wondered if that could also be added while you're doing this. Okay.
Well, don't get rid of file cabinets if Mike wants to go back to all paper.
Yeah, we might need more.
I need more file.
Mike, you know what the cost of paper is now?
Well, I think this is just the auction contract, so if you approve this, then we'll work the details out on site, set up and all those concerns.
Well, I appreciate Steve looking into that, bringing that to us, and I think that's a good option to move through the personal property out there, so, thank you.
And the contract is with Schauber
Schauber,
Auction.
How do you spell that, Mike?
SHAWVER, Schauber Auction and Real Estate, auctioneering and real estate.
So I would accept a motion to approve that contract.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Okay, I vote in favor of that also.
All right, I just need your signature, Stan. on there. I've got that marked, and then, if you wanna get that back to him, make sure we've got a copy, or Tony's got a copy, and then you can coordinate actual time and see if that date can change. The way that's drawn up, it'll be 90 days. Either way. So
Maybe
if it turns out you think that's too soon, you need more time, I would let them know, and obviously before they.
I think just Stan signed it.
Yeah.
I think it's what Mark said.
You know, it says September 14th, but it could go either way. I don't think it's gonna be before that, but it could be after that. Maybe, when you send that back to Shawver, is it Pete Shawver? Tell him to contact, maybe Shannon and or Brenda before he locks down a final date.
I'm pretty sure the way he was at my house last night, and that was probably the only date he had open.
Oh, it is. So
Yes, that's pretty much set in stone.
that is the date.
Yes.
Okay, can we do it by then? Is that,
I think so.
okay. Okay.
Is there a date that, so when you give that back to him, or do you just want to get with me or Shannon? I know he had talked previously about coming back out then
Yes.
for that inventory and such.
So he might want to do that here sooner than later. So is it all right if I give him your phone number?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
And is that the 13th?
14.
14th, so that's a Saturday.
Yes.
Saturday, September 14th.
I know he didn't put a time on, but his auctions typically start at 9, 10 o'clock.
9 or 10.
Tony, do you need a copy of this before I take it back?
I can run one here real quick. I'll just,
That thing's working.
That means we got a Friday the 13th. Plus, it's our anniversary. Lucky me.
My anniversary was yesterday.
35.
Congratulations.
What you gonna have?
44.
Someday you'll reach 50.
If I don't get you better.
I don't know.
Is it not working?
No,
I tried to print some stuff before and it stopped happening.
it's locked up.
It didn't print for Eric either, did it, Eric?
Well, I might have screwed it. I shut it off and then started it again, so. That's
That's the old reboot. That should work.
I can copy it up there. Yep. Steve will run upstairs, I can copy it up there.
That's the
Yeah.
it's the most effective IT fix in the book. Reboot.
Unplug it, plug it back in.
Actually, that probably is.
Why
Is
is
that
it
what
on
you
a,
recommend, Mike? Unplug it, plug it back in?
why is it on a computer to shut it off? You have to push start.
I don't know. Makes sense.
That's a Mike question.
He's actually gonna do that.
All right, anything else for us? Mike?
Yes, we got a couple of rezoning ordinances here. So I'll get
Okay, it's
that.
fixed now.
Fixed it. Rebooted it. Plug it in. What's ordinance numbers?
Next one is 9.
9? All right.
Just keep those copies when you're done and send you over copies if you need them. It's okay.
That's fine. First one I have here then would be 2024, ordinance 2024-9. This is an ordinance of the Board of Commissioners, State of Indiana, which rezones the property at 352 West, 450 North County, Adams County, Indiana. And that is approximately 80 acres of real estate. This real estate recommendation was submitted by the Plan Commission recommending this rezoning. That zoning hearing was held on July 18, 2024. And it was a rezoning filed by Becker Family Farms requesting to rezone an 80.02 acre tract from R1 single family to A agricultural. The land's located in section 9 of Washington Township. So this is an ordinance approving that rezoning. It just states that the Plan Commission held and convened on July 18 to consider this rezoning petition. Following that hearing, Plan Commission made findings of fact and recommended this rezoning. And so this ordinance then says, now therefore be it ordained by the Adams County Board of Commissioners that the real estate described on Exhibit A is hereby rezoned from its current zoning classification of R1 Single Family Residence to A Agricultural as proposed by the recommendation of the Plan Commission. Plan Commission shall update the zoning maps accordingly. And the auditor shall also forward a copy of the ordinance to the state and local officials as required by law, effective upon adoption. Any questions on this rezoning ordinance? Just need a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-9.
Okay,
And
all
all,
in favor of that also?
all right, so I'll show that all three voted in favor and therefore it is adopted.
Is that Becker Family Farms, you said, Mark?
Yes, that is correct.
And that's 352 West, 450 North?
Yes,
Okay, get the right numbers.
BECHER.
Yeah, I can spell better.
I just wanted to tell you before you asked.
Okay, so that is signature lines on the second page, all three commissioners sign. Tony, you attest, and then you can send it up to Plan Commission, and then scan one, send it over to us. Yep, we'll archive it. All right, so then the next rezoning ordinance would be 2024-10. And this was, again, Plan Commission convened on July 18, 2024 to hear a petition and request to change the zoning map filed by Kessel Farms. Greg Fleming requesting rezoning of Lot 1 and Holly Ridge Estates to be changed from A agricultural to R1 single family residence. That land is located in section 18 of Root Township and is also shown on the map of the plat. Plan Commission made no recommendation concerning the rezoning at their hearing. However, Board of Commissioners last week approved that rezoning, and this is the ordinance that codifies and approves that rezoning. So this ordinance states the Plan Commission convened on July 18 to consider this rezoning petition. Following their hearing, they made no recommendation concerning this rezoning. And the Plan Commission certified the rezoning described to the Board of Commissioners, Indiana, with no recommendation. Adams County Board of Commissioners have identified that this proposed rezoning will benefit Adams County in the following manner. And then you discussed that at your meeting last week, that there is a need for additional housing within Adams County, and the location of this proposed rezoning is a desired location being adjacent to a substantial thoroughfare for individuals traveling between Allen County and Adams County. That while the Board of Commissioners are cognizant of the risk of overdeveloping rural areas of Adams County, the proposed rezoning poses no such threat. The proposed rezoning does not infringe negatively on the surrounding land or landowners, and the proposed area may be served by public sewer facilities. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners that the real estate described on Exhibit A is hereby rezoned from its current classification A agricultural to R1 single family residence. The Plan Commission shall update the maps accordingly, and the auditor will notify state officials. And in order for that to be adopted on the same day, then we need all of you to vote on that.
Motion to approve 2024-10.
Yeah, vote in favor of that also.
All right.
Is that acreage 145, Mark, or something like that, like last week, 145?
Yeah, let me look and see.
The total farm is 145, but the rezone was not the
20.
whole, not the whole.
More than that. But we had to rezone the whole thing, or they said that back to us. Peeled off that part down there by the intensive livestock operation. Oh, that's right. So it's less than the full farm, but in my head, it was 120-ish.
I have to look and see. I don't know what the total, and my computer's broke, so I can't even look it up.
say all that.
Mm-mm. No, we got the map, but
I hate to be quoted on
when you
that.
pull it up on the GIS and look at that, you ought to be able to see that lot one. Can you see it, Clayton?
I'll find it for you.
Is it also, is it KSL or KESL?
It's KE,
K is an E in there.
yeah, KESL
SL.
Farms.
Okay.
I've got it up, but it's being real slow.
11, 12, 13, and 14, right? Okay, I think I can add all this up here and get close. I can't do it in my head.
Send that one down for signature. You gonna stand signature stuff? If Clayton's looking that up, we can let him find it and continue on.
117.833.
117.
117?
Point 833.
0.8.
33.
3.8.
Thank you, Stan. Thanks, Stan.
Yep.
All right, so that's in the books.
And then that goes back to the plan commission for a plot approval.
Yeah, that's it. That's up to them. All right, that's all I got.
And I don't know, when we can talk about it later too, any progress on the building for the public transport over at Council on Aging?
I haven't heard on that. I need to check with Mark. I think we got all the permits, didn't we?
Yeah, and I think Mark Wynn had a question on how he was to ask the contractors to bid that out, whether he needed to
Yeah,
ask
okay.
individual
Yeah, I got,
concrete frame, blah,
Yep.
blah, blah,
yeah,
or whether he could just have a contractor.
Mhm.
So,
I'll have to get with him on that.
so yeah, that way he can get on that. I think that's the only part he was nervous about.
Yeah, there'll be yeah, I have to see whether it's gonna be public bids all in one or if we're gonna sub it out or what we're doing.
Let's see.
In fact, I could just give him a call. Let's see, we got a phone number list here. Who you need? Mark Wynn.
Do you want the office or his?
Yeah, just what's the office?
It's 5305.
Well, it's not the extension, is it?
No, it's
You have to call
72453. Sorry about that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I'm used to calling from outside.
I should know that.
Sorry.
I'll just call a cell phone. I don't call up there all that often. Need to get a copy to Megan.
Kind of left us down, didn't it? That's all right. I'm gonna pick it up. I was hoping you would. Yeah, I don't know what I'm disappointed the market here to get us a report on it. Hope you mentioned that too. Yeah.
One shot. The sun schedule.
Well, Murray's got right here.
Those are those two words.
Yeah. Because of that right there.
Yeah.
Who are we waiting on now?
He's calling.
I don't think he
Building
answered.
plan.
I could give you a quick report on something that Mike Brown and I sit in on last week, yeah. We've talked a lot about internet, broadband, and kind of that availability. One of the aspects of internet availability is that from Watch Communication and Community Fiber Solutions, the service that they deliver to Adams County. And Mike and I had I thought, a pretty productive meeting with the folks from Watch Communication. Actually, Mike had the meeting and I sat in on it. So to say, I don't want to take credit for the meeting. Mike had a good meeting with a gentleman named Kevin Nelson, who works out of their Cincinnati office. I believe he's the head of their sales, but he's also, I think he's got some engineering and communication, pretty good communication background. But they talked about some things that they have in the works that should result in improved service to county government for the internet service that they provide. And, obviously we've got to wait on them to deliver. But Mike and I had a brief communication afterwards, and we felt like that we felt good enough with what they committed to give them an opportunity to kind of work on improving that relationship. So felt maybe some progress there. So I know I've beat them up a little bit in the last few meetings, but in this case, I think they're coming to the table. I know Kevin mentioned that this is he actually came and sat in Mike's office, and I dialed in on the meeting. So it's his third trip to Adams County from Cincinnati in this month. So I really feel like that there is maybe a renewed commitment from them to improve the service that they deliver to Adams County government. So I appreciate that, and I just want to make that public comment.
Very good. That's encouraging. All right. Did you find out anything more?
I'm trying to get hold of Mark. He must be on inspection or something, so I'll get with Mark Lynn about the building bid process.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll just probably have him come over to my office. We'll meet and we'll come up with a plan.
One of the things that we've got a lot of comment on over the weekend is from that manure lagoon in northwest. I believe it's Preble Township out there. Quite a bit of odor coming from that. So just kind of so the general public knows, I mean, we've been looking into it. We've made specific site visits. We've talked to the Plan Commission, Soil and Water Conservation District. And so, something that we're definitely looking into.
I think Mark was going to reach out to the state chemist's office, who actually manages manure, believe it or not, manure management for the state, and pretty well tells local governments to stay out of it, that they own that. I know we've tried to get involved in that. When I was on Plan Commission, we tried to get involved in kind of the manure management piece of farming, and the state chemist's office pretty well told us to back off. So hopefully between what Mark's doing with the Plan Commission, Soil and Water, and the state chemist's office, in my mind, we just have to understand if everything is being done in accordance with the direction and the guidelines and the rules that lagoon is supposed to operate under, then we do live in a rural community, and I don't know about you, but I like to eat meat, and as a result, we end up having to deal with some smells. But what happened over the weekend, I felt, was beyond what I would consider to be a normal agriculture-oriented event. And I know that I got more comments on that than I've had on anything else since I've been a commissioner. And I personally, and I know you did too, Stan, you're right out there by it. I made 2 site visits out there, and it was bad. So I understand, and we're trying to figure out what we can do, if anything, to alleviate that situation going forward. I was out there just this morning before this meeting and felt like that the odor had subsided quite a bit. There was still an odor there, but I felt like that it had subsided from what I experienced on Sunday when I was out there. So, but it still seemed to me to be beyond what I would consider to be acceptable. But I don't know if there's anything that is being done not in accordance with what's supposed to be out there. So I just don't know.
But just so everybody knows, I mean, we're taking it seriously and looking at it.
Is that a pig farm out there, pig manure or?
It is a lagoon that takes, commercial, takes animal waste from. on
Okay,
con-
various.
On contract. They contract to take waste.
It doesn't originate on that farm. It's trucked in basically, and then they
How long has
manage
been
it.
there? How long has it been there? 4 or 5 years or 10 years or?
Probably.
I never heard of
Feels to me like 4 or 5 years, but I don't know that.
Sandy was.
I had a lot of complaints from people about the odor coming in Decatur,
Yeah.
especially the north part of Decatur.
How big is
Exactly
it?
what we're talking about,
Sand or what size? An acre or so or?
It's like millions of gallons.
Millions?
It's large, yeah. I don't know either.
But like they said, the county doesn't control that, pretty much the state does. The state assesses that.
I never heard of it.
Yeah.
It was a conversation at the breakfast table to breakfast time this morning.
With your window shut?
That's a big deal out east, tall, the big.
Have the roof off on my Jeep, so whatever. when I
Yeah,
move out,
I don't think that's.
No protection from it,
There,
which is okay,
This room probably.
as it should
Put
be.
it in their, they put it in their meat field, didn't they? Soybean.
I don't know. But, you know, there's no swimming allowed.
Yeah, that's good. Haven't really tear up those valves the sheriff brought in.
All right. Any other reports from you gentlemen? Anything from the general public? Mike? Yeah. Yep.
We got a couple of things to go over from our recent meetings for change management. We had the court, Superior Court and Circuit Court, they're needing a breakout situation with WebEx so that when they have client attorney privilege communication. And if they hadn't brought anyone over from the jail, that they can have a breakout room being formed with those units in the jail. Now, our system, what I found out is our WebEx system, we can do that in all the other locations, but the kind of equipment that was put into those 3 rooms in the jail are not capable of doing that. And so Sam Conrad and Chad Kukohan were requesting that we figure out what it would take in order to do that. Currently, when they need to have that communication take place from Stan heard it on Friday morning, that they have to vacate the courtroom of everybody so that they can have these private communications take place. And that causes quite a bit of disruption. And then when they get done with those, they can bring everybody back in. And that's because so many people are using WebEx during the day for the trials that those people are using that means. And so they need to have the room broke out so that they can have those private conversations without removing everybody, including the judge, from the courtroom. So it takes an update of the 3 units over there in the jail to make that happen. And I did, different than Friday, I did find out that these did not include These are not a piece, by the way. These are together. It's a sum of the three that's over there. That they will take a trade in for our current ones. That's not been applied to that yet.
Oh, good.
So we get a trade-in value.
Misunderstand. How does this work then? If I have a client, I'm an attorney, I have a client that's in the jail and we're in some kind of a video court date and I want to go have a private conversation, would I, as the attorney, then go into a private meeting room over at the courthouse and open up my laptop and be able to communicate them through WebEx with my client out at the jail? Or I'm trying to think how it works physically.
Yeah, they would take the WebEx meeting itself and then over to the side, they would have breakout rooms that are
Right.
leveled there.
Okay.
And so it's a matter of, here's the people that are in there right now or whatever, and they just break them out
Sure.
into those rooms. They just kind of drag and drop
Okay.
the people over there. And then they can commence
Have their own private
privately, but
conversation.
not be involved with what's happening over here. I guess what it is this needs to be a bump up on the equipment over there
Okay.
by one version, by one thing, so.
Where would this be paid out of?
Well, as it is, as it seems like it always is, nobody has any money and they come to me and want to know if they can get it paid for. And so I said, well, we'll try. It's how important is it to have it happen? And so, yeah, they said it's pretty important because it causes a bunch of disruptions every time it goes out, goes through that. So, I said, I could try and see what I can do to pay for it here. It'd be nice if I could figure out, I don't know yet. It won't be any more than that. But once I get what our other equipment's gonna be worth, and I have no idea yet. So,
You know, Mike, I wonder if we aren't going to have, when all of the ARPA stuff finally gets through the gin mill here, and if we aren't contracted on December 31st of 2024, I bet there's going to be some ARPA money that is not yet contracted for that's going to be on the table. Since this was really an ARPA project, I wonder if we couldn't wait and see if there's ARPA funds that are kind of returned back to us, you know, that have been committed out, but I'm not going to be able to use it. I've overcommitted, whatever. For instance, I know one of the things that, and we haven't made this decision yet, but there's $200,000 of ARPA money that's been awarded for the Vision project. And so when we set those Vision plans, the RFPs that came back in, we said $200,000 was the most we were going to spend. Well, one of the proposals we're looking at is only for $175,000. So that would basically kick $25,000 of ARPA money back into the pot. Now, the rest of them are for $200,000. So as you might imagine, you tell somebody they got $200,000, they're going to spend it. But one of them didn't, interestingly enough. So I wonder if there aren't other ARPA monies that are going to kind of be, I know the Parks Department has some ARPA funds that I don't know that they've got fully committed yet. And that's
There are several, we have a spreadsheet. There are several with money that hasn't been spent. I've been contacting all of them, telling them the same thing. By the end of the year, we have to have a contract for it. There are some, I think one might have been one for Rick, that you were done with that project. There was a little left over. We put that back into, there's still some for the crisis center. The $8,000 from Monroe has not been touched.
I've wondered if there's not some projects out there that we need to kind of have in our hip pocket here right at the end of the year where we can dust off and
Make a
say,
contract and get it
here it is.
obligated.
Yeah.
Right now, I think as we stand, probably have around 29,000 that, including what Rick sent back and said he wasn't going to spend.
Kind of unclaimed ARPA money.
Because a lot of them were not to exceed this
Yeah.
amount, and if it's under, we can then put that back in the thing, and then it would have to be approved as another ARPA approval, and then obviously contracted. So you're right, Steve, there could be Some left
It's
with it.
kind of been in my head. I wish we had some projects that were kind of ARPA ready when we finally get to the finish line and we've got what I perceive to be some ARPA funds available up for grabs.
I forget when the last updated spreadsheet was sent out, but I think we copied commissioners and council as to where we were, what has all been spent, what's done, what's left in some, all that stuff. And Bree, myself, and Julie Marie will sit in a room and we'll both go over all of that to figure out where are we at, particularly now that we're under a little pressure to get that done by the end of December. But yes, if this is something that could wait until we kind of figure that out, and if there's some things out there like Mike with the Monroe project,
It's gonna,
we have to have something contracted there.
They're not gonna have enough there, but that's.
I mean,
Can we approve this as a project, even though where we're paying it from is undetermined, or do we need to,
That's for you guys to decide.
Mark?
I think the question is, how urgent is it that
Yeah,
it
how
be
soon does
done?
it have to
Yeah,
be?
they kind of claim it's pretty urgent, but they haven't.
But they got along without it for
They
a while now. So 3 months probably isn't gonna be a deal killer.
Probably not.
So we can wait until we know what monies we have and
I-
make that an ARPA project.
Fortunately or unfortunately, I've been involved in a couple of arbitration meetings with Clayton back there. And I get the whole breakout room thing where you go and the arbitrator takes these few over to this breakout room and they have their little private conversation. They throws them all back together again. And so I get where you're going and we need to be able to do that. That's, that feels to me like a must-have, especially knowing that video work between the courts and the jail is definitely the way to go.
Well, it used to be when they would haul prisoners from jail to the court, the inmate and his
They can go
lawyer
off
could
in a
just
private meeting room.
go off on.
That's what we're talking about here, except doing it digitally instead of physically.
Yeah, without the transfer.
So I feel like that this is something we need to do. It's just a question of, can we wait it out and see if there's ARPA funds available? In my head.
It does seem to be where they have the prosecutors in his office. The inmate or defendant or whatever is at the jail. I mean, I've seen that work. And
Well, let's
judge.
hold off on this then until we get a little bit
That's
closer to it.
Evidently, no one could come more from the courts to assist me today.
Well, I get it. I know exactly what you're, fortunately, up until 3 months ago, I wouldn't have had a clue what you're talking about, but
We're
I've
not
been
gonna-
able to experience it
We're
lately,
not
so I
gonna be
get
able to
it.
do this with every project, so we'll have to kind of
Yeah.
have a plan as we move towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
How
The
much
next
is,
thing is dealing with the
how much is it?
12,600.
12,600.
$12,600.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's without the trade-in, yeah, so it'll be less.
Without trade-in equipment.
Trade-in.
Yeah, it'll be less than that, but that's the most it could be.
Okay.
The next thing is dealing with the courthouse and the power, and we are not able to get to work to be completed before the election with a grant. I'm not sure that we can get everything completed even before the election if we moved ahead, but maybe we can get partial of it done, okay? That needs to be done. And if you look there, there's only one portion that we're really kind of looking at, and it's that top one that's dealing with the distribution clauses, where the network switching is at, and so on. It started off this year that we had a UPS that's going south on us. It was still operational, but it's not able to hold, not able to get batteries for it, because they only go for 6 years. And once the electronics have passed for 6 years on these lower end UPSs, not the type that we've been buying lately, but the lower end, they will not sell you batteries at that point. So you can replace them once, but you can't replace them
another time. So the batteries last for 3 years. So you replace them once. Now you go for the next replacement, they won't replace them. And they say, basically, you gotta get the electronics switched out as well. So we have kind of moved to more expensive UPSs that we can go for long periods of time without having to do that. And we can get batteries replaced and so on. So that's not included in that, but I've already ordered it and I got a line item budget that I had prepared for this year that is going to make that payment for that. And you guys have already approved that. And it's for the courthouse, not Superior, but Circuit.
And these are UPSs, not any kind of a generator or backup generator or
No
anything. These are
backup
for
generators,
UPSs.
just a UPS. But this is not the end of the story now. So we had the thing dealing with IoT earlier in the year. And, you know, they are anticipating some problems this year before the election. And they're anticipating more in the way of not as much with cybersecurity in the way of like a ransomware or those type of things, as much as maybe a power disruption with a major.
Well, you know, Mike, I have nightmares of just having as simple as somebody hit a transformer out here and take the power out to the courthouse on election day or election night. And I mean, we can't, we have to be better than that. So I don't know what that means, but we have to be better than that.
So a little bit of this is what we're going on with this then. And so that top number there is actually taking the current UPS that we got in there, and it's just about all here. We anticipate that we'll be able to implement that before the election, but to make it really work well with the UPSs, you got to redirect circuits from where the stuff that you want to cover, they have to be redirected into one panel. Then you have to have another panel. Then you have to have an automatic transfer switch. So they're sitting here from the one panel where the breakers are at. And then the transfer switch, which separates between the two, says, oh, this panel has lost its power, and it does it automatically. It switches over to the one that's being fed by the UPS so that everything takes place in such a quick method, which has to be done like between 1 and 2 milliseconds, that everything stays up. No, nothing goes down, everything stays up. And now you're running off a battery at that point. So as long as you got battery there, you're continuing to run. And so one of the things that we were talking about, and the reason why Rick's up here, is we do have the generator that's over from Golden Meadows that we could reuse, and we could bring it over, and Rick signed for it when that was early on. As soon as you got available, you signed the sheet that you wanted the generator.
I requested it, I would like to have it.
So basically what we would do is we would have everything on the inside, and that's that top number, includes all this work that I'm talking about. The combination of the two panels with the breakers that need to be resituated. And we'll make the panels big enough so that we can, down the road, if we need to do more of this, we can add in to those. And, but right now we're covering the data center in the first floor and in the second floor where the data center's at to keep the networking up. We were going to include the clerk's office, which is what IoT said that they wanted to do to get that done. That involves in that courthouse, they got to bore through the floors and they got to put the jacks, the electrical outlets near the tables and the power of the PCs, the printers, lights, all that other stuff. And that's gonna take a while to get that done and redirect the circuits and so on. So we just feel like there isn't enough time to get all that done. So if we just take a look at the top number, we're hoping, since we're gonna get the UPS put in place, that maybe we can get those 2 panels and a transfer switch in, and to put a jack outside the battery, outside the building, or a generator that we can plug into it. And we're hoping that that generator could be the one at Golden Meadows if it's not still being used. If we can bring that over, it's diesel, it's a bigger generator than what we're thinking on. And we could take on more locations in the courthouse with, you know, as long as the generator can do it. And it's a way for us to reuse some stuff that we've already paid for. So this would be a good step in that direction. And so I would like to see if we could continue on with that and to move forward with it. I have money in general fund for work to be done on all the courthouses. So I can take and move some stuff around and I can push it significant amount of funds to pay for that top number out of my already budgeted.
Well, like you say, that's gonna protect us if we have a power failure during an election. You know, one of the things that I asked Shelley about too was, well, what happens since we've got the big generator here now? So she would have to move all her computers, all her people, all her voting machines, everything would have to.
Come over here, basically, you're 125 or somewhere, and then
Right.
set up for
So this
backup
way,
operations.
you know, if we get all these jacks wired so they can be powered by the generator, you know, then it would be seamless. She could just, the election would continue. So.
I guess the only thing that I struggle with is that's a lot of expense for an event, an unusual or unlikely event to happen on 1 or 2 days every couple of years. You know, you have to add those two things together,
Well,
a
and
power outage and on election day. But I have thought about that. It's like, oh crap, what if?
on the other hand, a power outage on election day would be the worst case scenario for a power outage. But this would all serve us on the other 364 days.
I get it. And if that's the case, then
Plus, it's
I don't
basically a
mind.
one-time expense,
Yeah.
so, yeah, so.
And
depends
I
if-
agree with grabbing that generator and redeploying that courthouse. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. So,
So if this is kind of in preparation for that or in build up to using that generator and having a good backup power supply at our courthouse, that feels like a good investment to me.
so yeah, if we want to take action on that today, that's up to you. If we want to go ahead and approve that project, then I don't think it'll be done by this election day, but.
But you might have some of it then,
I'm
maybe
hoping
the
it
UPS
does.
part.
We're hoping that top number
Yeah.
can take place.
Yeah. So,
Whether the generator is in or not, at least
Yeah.
we'll have the UPS with the cutover switch and that stuff kind of
Yeah.
done, and that's what.
especially keeping in mind, we got 2 server rooms over there, like Rick said, one up behind the jury room and then the other one on the first floor. So,
Yeah.
so yeah.
But you're right, it's not just for election day, but that's the thing that
That's the worst
scares me.
case scenario. So,
What have we done in years past though? What did we do?
Crossed our
yesterday?
fingers,
Yeah. I just-
crossed our fingers, got lucky.
Well, you heard what I said. It just gets down to the point, how many people could we hire if we just went back to paper?
yeah.
Where's this stop at? Is
Well,
what I'm
it's-
saying.
it's-
I sat in here today and I hear,
I'll tell you, Steve, though, I've got along, I'm 67 years old. I got along for 66 years without a generator at my house. I just put one in just because I feel like the power grid is getting less reliable, less stable, and I think that things are more at risk as we move forward with the world today. I put my own money into it, so I get it.
Well, and it's not done with this yet, Steve.
I know, that's what I'm
I got
afraid of.
What I'm saying is it's not done yet because.
Oh, I know, I mean, that's just today, but what about next week?
Yeah, I know.
And the week after that?
Yeah.
Where does this end? I mean,
Do we want to take action on this today?
If you're just looking for approval for the base number, that 18,000 or whatever it was.
No, it's 35.
35.
35.
Wishful thinking.
Service selector.
35.
I would make a motion to approve that. We have UPSs there today, correct? We're replacing those with UPSs that,
Yeah, and that's not part of that, but I'm paying for that out of something that's just normal that I had to get them back in there again.
you say we have this money in general?
Yeah.
Mike has it
It's
in court.
It's in, I have stuff to do work in the courthouses I budgeted for. And all three.
And
this
that,
being.
and that will include setting the generator up, this here 30, what is it, 30?
That doesn't include.
35025.
Doesn't get the
Because
generator.
we didn't even know whether we could even get it, that other one. Rick signed for it. I said, yeah, let's get it, Rick. I mean, it's, nothing
Jimmy,
is gonna cost us so much, so let's try and plan on it. And we'd have to see when everyone would be leaving over there, when we could have access to it, Steve, that we could actually pull it away from that building and bring it over here. So, but that part is not included with that.
Steve, I may have funds, I just have to see what it would cost to just unhook it and bring it over here.
He's got some funds in his stuff, just like I do, to take care of some stuff. We always budget for things.
Well, I think it's wise using the generator over there. I just, when does this end, is what I'm.
Well, to me, this is like driving. Do you drive with a spare tire or not?
I
You
don't
know,
know.
I always buy good tires, but I still have a spare tire just in case. So
I have AAA, so.
Oh.
No, I'll
So
say.
this is our,
You'll have AAA now.
so this is our spare tire for the courthouse. So.
Like I said, I've done it at my house. I've got along without it for a long time, but I just feel like that we're becoming more vulnerable. And on election night especially, I'm thinking, this last election, there was a storm going through or something, I thought, crap.
It was stormy.
Did I hear a motion?
You got a motion from me.
You got a second from me.
Okay.
Good. Okay, now before we leave this topic, because we got one that's related.
You're stressing my bladder, Mike. So
You're
you need to keep
getting
it
an awful
short.
thin line here.
On my computer and the battery's dying.
And Shelley was there. Shelley, she's still here?
Nope, she left you.
She left.
Gave
Yeah,
up.
I always end up on by myself, but at least Rick came with me today. So anyway, we set up an IoT meeting and we spent a whole day, and a lot of it was based on some of these issues. And most of it was dealing with power, and they're recommending that we get some sort of redundancies for the clerks in the clerk's office, because if it comes out and then they got to have their PCs to be able to send up the information in. They have to be on their PCs because the state is fully recognizing that it's those PCs, they just won't let anyone get in, to the state to do that stuff. So they're recommending some backup power. Well, that's where the 18,000 is, that we don't think that we can get it done. And then they said, well, yeah, you got to have it at the polling places too.
Yeah, no, I
So
struggle with that.
now we got 6 polling places and we don't own any of them. And then we had to have some reliable networking there as well. And I'm just sitting there and my head's just, they come up to me, well, are you going to get them back on the network then after, well, I don't own anything in that building, and I don't have the keys to unlock their IT stuff and all this. And so as it goes on, it just gets more complicated, more worse as we go along. So I was with Shelley and I says, okay, what is it that we actually need to do? So we got the people, they come in, they get booked in, and let's say they're booked in and now the power goes out. She says, well, we got to have enough up there so those people can vote. Whatever the line is, the line can be farther back, but they haven't checked in yet. Once they checked in, now they got to vote. Now she can take the other people that haven't voted, that's back in the line, she can put, hey, you need to go, we got power in another location, so you need to drive to there, but the people over here
Okay.
need to get that done, okay? And so I said, okay, so why don't we just think about for this election in your offices and for those, you just tell me how many of those voting machines you need to have powered up, and why don't we just buy a little portable UPS to go through that? Okay. So I went on over the weekend and late last week, I got up early and I started doing research, and I found a really good UPS that could hold multiples of those machines if we wanted to. It's not big. And it just so happened that the one that I preferred, it's the only one that I preferred actually, was the only one that's at half price right now. So for $3.99 a piece, and it can do multiples.
So
I
you
went
need 6
through
of
that.
those?
I went through and it would actually hold a desktop computer, which that's mostly what those voting machines are. It would hold them for like a day or more.
Cool.
If it was just one plugged into that.
Yeah.
So if we could plug multiples in and we just need a short period of time.
So you need an hour.
Yeah. So I told Shelley, she's still not back yet. I think she said like she would need 2 per polling place.
Why would we need 2?
That's what she said. Okay.
So one at the
I
backup,
kind of told
the
her, I
backup to
said,
the backup.
I said, I think it's 2 because she's got to have some networking and she's got to maybe have lights. So we would have to plug in maybe some lights or something.
We don't vote at night though. We vote first thing in the morning, maybe dark. But
Yeah, first thing in the morning, by November, it's going to start getting night
Yeah,
earlier on. It's not
dark.
like summer.
It's dark at 6 a.m. on.
And so anyway, we can maybe get by with one. I wish she was here to defend it. but-
I would start with 1 per polling place. And think,
Okay.
this may be where you draw the line, Steve.
Yeah.
So I guess what are you recommending so we can kind of move this along a little?
Well, I'll remain numbers, but I recommend that we buy them and in a hurry so that we don't lose the 50%.
$400 a piece. Times
400 there times however many that we need.
6.
Because we know that we're going to need
$2,500.
4. We're going to need 4 in the clerk's office since we can't get this wiring done into there.
Okay.
And,
Plus you got 6 polling places. Is that what we said?
Yeah. So, and it looks like.
And what do we do with these after the,
We would leave the ones at the clerks on the clerks machines at least for a while. And then they could be reused where other people don't have generators and stuff like that, where they would have workstations that we need to have. up
in
and
2
running.
years, they'd still be good?
Yeah, they said.
They said.
Well,
Is this just a one-time,
yeah, it's like a
throw
one-time-
$400 times 10 away, so that's $4,000?
Yeah, but we can.
I sure wish I had $4,000 I could just throw away for one day's use.
We can reuse them, that's for sure. And use them not on just elections, but all the times with people that, we have places that we got a lot of WebEx equipment right now that's not leveraging UPS stuff that we really need that.
So do you have the money in your budget to do this, or do you need?
Yes, that's part of this building type thing again.
And what are they exactly? I went to the restroom.
$3.99 a piece.
No idea what are
Portable,
they?
portable UPS.
Portable UPS. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
So I don't know if we need to take action on that also to approve that.
Well,
Project.
I went to just see, I was hoping that I just got one for my own use and at home. And so I bought one, I wanted to see how long it would take to get here, and it was only $400, which they're normally $800. So, yeah, I could use it. When I go to Canada, I can always use uninterrupted power supply, so I'll take it up with me. Well, it's not gonna be here till the end of the month. I already ordered it, and it's not gonna be here till the end of the month, so, and you don't know, like I said, how long this discount's gonna last.
Well, so I guess what I'm asking is, do you need our permission to order these?
Yeah.
So I would accept either a motion to approve or not, or what do you guys want to do?
I make, what number did you settle
They
on?
come up
10?
with 10.
I make a motion to approve ordering 10 of those things.
Okay. All right,
that's 4 at the courthouse, 1 per.
Yes,
One per voting station.
yeah,
I'll second it.
okay, motion carries, thank you. All right,
Now, this one doesn't relate to that.
All right.
But this is.
we need
dealing
to
with-
keep things moving here a little
Yeah,
bit.
this is dealing, I don't have but 2 of them. You guys can share maybe. This is, of these, there's 8 of those units, and basically 4 of them I'm going to go to Geneva as part of the ARPA for the buildings that are down into there. So we're not going to put the tower up, and we're going to use AT&T that's an antenna with electronics that come in and separate out the buildings for that. And so the other 4 are for the police departments. And so one of them will be in Geneva as well for the Geneva Police Department. And then Bern PD and Decatur PD. So it totals with everything 8 of those. And we need some redundancy in the internet connectivity of the police department. And Dan said he would pay for the police department's units. And then the ones for Geneva, we would take it out of the ARPA funds. And so it enables me to then take with the money that we had appropriated from ARPA, and I'm going to try and get the buildings cabled correctly on the inside. So now we've taken a fairly highly expensive solution with the tower and to try and do all that. And we cut it down into this number, and they just recently offered this with AT&T, and we went down and tested it, and it's pretty good. Wow. It's pretty good. So and you don't have to worry about trees being in the way and everything else. And it's a solution that just came about. So we were lucky that we kind of didn't do anything and kind of waited to see how things.
No, it's a
Well,
great point, it's
the
the
only
same thing that they have in the car.
AT&T 5G, that's exactly what I have, and boy,
8 of them.
it's hit and miss in Geneva. It is
This
hit
is
and
the
miss.
antenna though, that's along with it, with a cradle point electronics that you don't have
Okay.
there. It's,
Well, I was just saying,
yeah,
AT&T 5G in Geneva is hit and miss.
so.
I don't have the antenna or the cradle point, I understand, but I'm just,
So this is the whole bill for all 8 of them.
Yeah. So,
And this is instead of, throw a number out, $50,000 we were going to spend on a 75,000 on an antenna, or I'm sorry, a tower and a antenna and all that stuff. So
that was through ARPA, wasn't it? For Geneva, wasn't that through ARPA?
yeah,
Money.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
How much is this amount?
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
$15,240. Eric.
yeah. So for the police departments, like I said, Dan's gonna pay for those. What's left that goes down to Geneva, that's coming out of ARPA. And then I can take the ARPA funds, instead of putting it into other stuff, I can get their buildings recabled and get, I think I can get that completed too, within that, and not go over. With all this stuff, I won't have to go over on the ARPA funds. Now, the only thing that they're gonna have, so that I can tell you're interested in this, Steve, the only thing that Geneva's gonna have, and I told Andrew Briggs about it, is their monthly fees for bandwidth usage is gonna go up. There's an amount into there that says, yeah, so it's gonna go up. It's not gonna be, because we only had, Community Fiber was the only place that had a fiber going up into City Hall and the police department, and that was like $200 a month for that. And then we went through one, you buy it and you just put it into place. And you go for all those years with it spreading out to the other buildings, that sort of stuff. Well, this means that they're going to be coming in. You don't have that interconnect like they used to have. So their monthly fees are going to be, well, those are like $100 more every month for each building.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Make a motion, we accept.
Second.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
That was
Rick, are you gonna say you
All
have
right.
something?
No,
All right.
Rick was here because of the courthouse. We may have to use some of his funds to get everything going.
Anything else?
Outside, that tower of the courthouse is, I think,
It's
schematic for me.
I tell you what, for Rick and I, though, we got to get it all implemented and get the vendors and stuff. So it's, everything we bring up here is not like seamless. We got to put the time in. Thanks a lot.
Anything else from the general public?
It's working.
Shannon? All right. Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Okay, motion